My goodness, you've got a big setup today, Hunter. Now, are these actual pictures of your Legos? Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, it's
Very
really
good.
awesome. Give me a second. I'll try and find the set that it's.
Is that that's really cool. All righty. So look at you and Alexis. Y'all got the same shirt on. Those are cool. And do you have y'all all have the same shirt on? Did y'all plan this? Where's my shirt? Y'all didn't get me a matching shirt. Very good. Did y'all have a good weekend? Are these like cheer shirts or something? Yeah. Very good. Well, how cool. Fun stuff. Fun stuff. Everybody had a good weekend? Anything great and exciting? Horrible and terrible? Just a weekend. Okay. Well, I know that I think Noah is out of town today, so he's going to be joining us via video. So hello, Noah, when you get a chance to watch. We will go ahead and start off by first of all talking about homework. I know that some of you may have gotten an email where I said, hey, I was going through homework and I'm missing this page, or I'm, can't find whatever. And so what I've been doing is when I was uploading homework, if I couldn't find it in the effort assignment part, I would go to the accuracy and find it. So that's not an issue. If you're confused as to, do you put it in effort, do you put it in accuracy, don't stress about that. Put it in effort if you think about it, but if not, just put it in one or the other. I'll find it. Okay, just make sure you do get it uploaded in one or the other for that date. Okay, that's the biggest thing I'm concerned about. The other thing is if there were assignments, like I said, there were some that I know there were some things that we may have started in class on an assignment, but then I said finish it up for homework or whatever. There may be some of those, but anyway, so if you have any questions though, just let me know. The main thing is if there's something I've asked you to send, I don't think, now I could be totally wrong, y'all just, because I've never uploaded homework to the website, not being a student. But anyway, I think once you've uploaded maybe for that assignment, it might not let you add to it. I'm not real sure. But if you cannot, that's okay just to email it to me or text it to me, okay? So that I think in my emails, if there was something missing, I just said, hey, email me this or take a picture and text it to me or whatever. So then that way you don't have to, because like I said, I'm not sure if there's a way to add to it or not, or if you end up having to delete the whole assignment and put it back in. I don't want you to have to bother with that, okay? So this is just, it's a whole new process of uploading homework and doing stuff. So I know it's going to take a little time for us to get real good at it. One thing I will tell you is that we will continue this process as we go. Even if for those of you that'll be joining us in the classroom next week, we will still continue to upload homework this way. Okay, so I think it'll just be easier if we have one consistent way of turning in homework. Obviously, when we go over it, we'll be in class, but as far as turning it in, we'll continue just to upload it to the website, and then that way, since 1 week we'll be in class and 1 week we'll be out, I don't want it to be confusing of, oh, this was the week that I needed to upload it and I can't remember, and let's just always upload it. Okay, that'll be easier hopefully for you to remember. It's much easier for me as far as grading, just to be able to pull those assignments in and go through them and score them and send them back to you. So hopefully you have had a chance to look through the assignments I sent back to you. If I've sent you some work, when you get those back, be sure to look at them, see what you missed and why you missed it, okay? And this is the time for you to be able to look at it, figure out why you made your mistakes and what you can do to correct them, okay? Look back in your book if you're not sure about how to do something. Look back at your work. but always know that you can call me, text me, email me, and ask for help, okay? Don't just go, oh, I don't know how to do it, but I'm just not going to worry about it. Please worry about it. Ask me, because starting pre-algebra, this is our time for us building a good foundation to be ready for algebra. And then in algebra, we get that foundation ready for geometry and algebra 2. So it's kind of like building blocks, okay? Kind of like building a block house. And y'all know that if you've ever built with blocks, building with Legos, if you leave a gap, if you leave a hole, eventually you're going to get so much weight on there and it's not going to be real solid. So you want to make sure you have a good firm foundation. And so that's what my goal is for this year, is with pre-algebra, that that you don't go into next year not knowing how to do something. Maybe you don't do it perfectly, and that's okay. We're not always 100% on stuff, but as long as you have kind of a general idea, that's what I'm looking for, okay? So always be sure to ask if you need help, all right? So that was with homework. Any questions about homework or any questions about anything I might have sent you? Okay, and then the next step is going to be our study guide. Let's go ahead and take a look at our study guides to get ready for our test. I'll go ahead and link up my iPad. We will get going with that. Okay. So pre-algebra study guide. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at these. We have pre-algebra unit 1 study guide. It says complete the study guide as a review. Tests will be sent on Monday. So I will email these out by 5 o'clock today. Okay. You will have them and it will be due on Thursday. You may have some other minor homework to go along with it, but it won't be a ton. All right, so number 1, the counting numbers that start with the number 1 are natural numbers. Natural numbers and the number 0 are whole numbers. Integers are positive and negative whole numbers. And when you hear the word integers, I want you to picture a number line in your head. Rational numbers are numbers that can be written as a fraction. These include decimals that either terminate or repeat. Remember, a terminating decimal is one that just ends. A repeating decimal is one that will continue going, but it's going in a repetitive pattern. Maybe it's 26262626 or 0.123, 123, 123. There's not a limit on the number of numbers that can repeat, but you just have to be able to see that pattern that is repeating. Irrational numbers are numbers that cannot be written as a fraction, and they include decimals that do not terminate or repeat and imperfect square roots. So any questions about the first 5, about our types of numbers? I will tell you that the first part of the test will be matching. It will be describing these different types of numbers and asking for you to match the examples of types of numbers with each of these groups, okay? Number 6, the associative property of addition says that you can group add-ins in different ways and still get the same answer. So when you're talking about properties, if it talks about grouping, we're talking about the associative property. If it talks about order, if it says that things can be added in any order and it does not change the solution, then order has to do, excuse me, with the commutative property. Okay, so associative property is grouping, commutative property is order. Number 8, the identity property of addition says that you can add 0 to any number and it won't change the value of that number. Okay, so identity property means you can add 0 and the number stays the same. Number 9, rounding and estimation. Rounding is a method of approximating a given number that helps you to estimate an approximate answer. When rounding, look at the number immediately to the right of the place value you want to round to. If the number is 4 or below, keep the place value digit the same. If the number is 5 or up, round the place value digit up 1 number. So Any questions about associative, commutative, identity, rounding, or estimation? All righty. Going on to number 10. Sign number rules, addition. All right, so these are biggies. These are rules that the faster you learn them, the easier it's going to be, and the more the more ahead you will be this time next year in algebra. Sign numbers are things that that even in algebra, you know, it's still a challenge when you start working with them. It's one of those things that you're a little rusty at the beginning of the school year, and it takes a little time to get used to them. But the sooner you get used to working with sign numbers, the easier it's going to be. Okay, when adding two numbers with the same sign, you add like normal and keep the sign. So if you have a positive plus a positive, you're going to have a positive answer. If you have a negative plus a negative, you're going to have a negative answer. When adding two numbers with opposite signs, take the sign of the larger number and then find the difference of the numbers by subtracting the smaller number from the larger number, okay? So opposites, you're going to find the difference, keep the sign of the larger value. Subtraction, when subtracting signed numbers, change from subtraction to addition by changing the minus sign to a plus sign, and then change the sign of the number following. So you're going to take the opposite of the sign that is after the plus sign that you've changed from subtraction to addition, okay? So you do not change the first number. So if I had a problem, like if I had -6 minus a -6, or let me change it, I don't want to make it too confusing to make it the same number. -6 plus 8, I'm sorry, -6 minus a -5, okay? I keep that first -6. That does not change. My minus changes to a plus, so now I have -6 plus, but because I changed from subtraction to addition, now I have to change the sign of -5, and it would become +5, okay? So keep the first number the same. Don't change the sign of the first one. Only change after you have changed the subtraction sign to addition. Any questions on that? All right, in multiplication and division, when multiplying or dividing, so multiplying, dividing, same signs, your answer will be positive. Multiplying or dividing opposite signs, your answer will be negative. When multiplying more than two numbers, count the number of negative signs. An odd number of negatives will produce a negative solution, and an even number of negatives will produce a positive solution. Any questions on our sign number rules, multiplying, dividing, adding, subtracting, any of that? All righty. Then we have absolute value. Absolute value, the distance of a number from 0 on the number line. And remember, we said that distance cannot be negative, so absolute values are going to be positive. If you have a negative sign in front of the absolute value symbol, that means you will need to find the opposite of the absolute value of a number, so the answer will have a negative sign, okay? Remember, negative inside the absolute value gives me a positive answer. A negative outside or in front of the absolute value symbol gives me a negative answer. Number 12, factors are numbers that divide into one another with no remainder. And number 13, multiples are numbers that are the result of multiplying factors together. Any questions about absolute value, factors, or multiples? All right, fantastic. So like I said, I will email your test out by 5 o'clock today. So you'll have that. So your first bit of homework will be that you've got a test that's due on Thursday. And then let's go ahead and take a look at our other homework that we had that was due. Let's see, we had pages 18, 19, and 20, it looks like. So let's see. Page 18 goes with lesson 8. Let's see, lesson 8. And then I'll go ahead and pull that up on here. Okay, so on lesson 18, we had activities 3, activities 4, and the first 2 of each row in activities 5. So let's go ahead and take a look at these. Sorry, I'm trying to get my screen where I can see everybody. There we go. Alrighty, so in this one we had already, it says find all of the natural number factors for each of the following numbers, and then circle the numbers that are factors of 12. Will be 1 times 12, 2 times 6, and 3 times 4. So we put them in order from least to greatest, and then our prime numbers were 2 and 3. All right, so for 14, my factors are going to be 1, 2, 7, and 14. And my prime factors will be 2 and 7. So this is page 18, activities 3. 1, 2, 7, 14. Prime factors are 2 and 7. For 15, my factors are 1, 3, 5, and 15. My prime factors are 3 and 5. Number 16, so for number 16, my factors are 1, 2, 4, 8, and 16, and the only prime factor is going to be 2. For the number 18, 1, 2, 3, 6, 9, and 18, and my prime factors are 2 and 3. For the number 20, I have 1, 2, 4, 5, 10, and 20, and my 2 prime factors are going to be 2 and 5. And for the number 21, 1, 3, 7, and 21, and my 2 prime factors are going to be 3 and 7. Any questions on that?
I missed something. I missed something. Really
You missed some? Okay, so a lot of times, do what?
I just missed one.
Okay.
I just forgot to do 4 on the 12.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, it's real easy to forget them, to miss them, and so the best way is just always just to start with 1. Obviously 1 times that number, and then try 2, then 3. All right, and then section 4, activities 4, is dealing with multiples, and we did with 21, and we found that multiples of 21 would be 21, 42, 63, 84, and 105. So now we're going to have multiples of 22. 22, 44, 66, 88, 110. Multiples of 23. 23, 46, 69, 92, 115. Multiples of 24. 24, 48, 72, 96, 120. Multiples of 25, 25, 50, 75, 100, 125. Multiples of 30 will be 30, 60, 90, 120, 150. And multiples of 40, 40, 80, 120, 160, 200. Any questions on those? All right. Okay, so let's look at the bottom activities 5. We'll do the multiplication answers first and then the division answers. So the first one, I have 689 times 21. My answer will be 14,469. So that's 14,469. And then 276 times 75 will be 20,700. That'll be 20,700. Any questions on those? And then the division. 77 will go into 924 12 times. The answer on the first one is 12. And then 37 will go into 185 5 times. Any questions on the division? Anything you would like me to work? Okay. So that was page 18, activities 3, 4, and 5. And then we had page 19, activities 2. Let's go ahead and take a look at that. Page 19, activities 2, we're doing prime factorization. Alrighty, so let's look at our prime factors for the number 15. All right, prime factors for 15 would be 3 and 5, or 3 times 5. One thing I want to mention is that when you list your factors, you want to put them in order from least to greatest. If you put them in order a different way, it doesn't mean they're wrong. It's just easier to follow if you go from least to greatest, okay? So when I list these, I'll be doing least to greatest. So prime factors for 15 would be 3 times 5. For 20, going across the top, okay? So next to 15, 20 would be 2 times 2 times 5. For 27 will be 3 times 3 times 3. And for 30 will be 2 times 3 times 5. Any of those you need me to repeat, or any of those you'd like me to work? All right, the bottom row, prime factors for 35 will be 5 times 7. 39 is 3 times 13. 48 is 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 3. You should have 4 2s, and then times 3. And then 52 is 2 times 2 times 13. Any of those you'd like me to repeat or work? Awesome. Okay, so prime factorization, that was page 19, activities 2, and we had page 20, activities 3 and 4. Okay, so activities 3, 5 multiples. Multiples of 50. We have 50, 100, 150, 200, and 250. For 60, we have 60, 120, 180, 240, and 300. For 70, we have 70, 140, 210, 280, and 35. I'm sorry, 35, 350. For 80, I have 80, 160, 240, 320, and 400. And then for 90, I have 90, 180, 270, 360, 450. Any of those you would like me to repeat? All righty. Now, activities 4 is dealing with absolute value. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and work these on here with us. So, all right, so we have the absolute value of -9 plus the absolute value of -32. So that means that the absolute value of -9 is 9, plus the absolute value of -32 is +32. So 9 plus 32 is 41. Any questions about that? The absolute value of -7 is 7, plus the absolute value of 46 is 46, and 7 plus 46 is 53. Any questions? All right, the absolute value of 31 is 31, minus the absolute value of -6 is 6. So 31 minus 6 is 25. All right, the next one, I've got a minus sign in front. So I've got the opposite of the absolute value of 27. So that would be -27 plus the absolute value of -10 is +10. Okay, so now I'm dealing with adding opposite numbers. So I'm going to take the sign of the larger value, which is negative, and find the difference of my numbers. 27 minus 10 is 17. The next one, negative 11. I'm sorry, the opposite of the absolute value of 11 minus the absolute value of negative 3. So that's going to be negative 11 minus the absolute value of negative 3 is 3. Now, this is one where I want to go ahead and change it because it can get a little confusing. All right, so what I want to do here is remember, if I want to change from subtraction to addition, I just change my sign, but then what I've got to do is make sure that when I have changed this sign here, I take the opposite of this number here. So now this is a positive 3, so it needs to become a negative 3. So now my new problem is negative 11 plus negative 3. Okay? Now I know my rule says that if I'm adding two negative numbers, my answer will be negative, and I add those numbers together, and 11 and 3 is 14. Okay? Those are the most challenging, subtraction to addition, because I need to remember a couple of things. The first thing I have to know is I've got to swap my signs. But if I change my sign, I have to change the sign of the number that comes afterward. The reason I put this box around this, the plus and minus, is because I wanted you to see that when that minus sign is with the plus sign, now 3 is positive. So you can see that 3 is a positive. So I have to take the opposite sign. So the opposite of a positive is a negative. And then once I'm adding two negatives, all I do is keep my sign and add them together. Okay. Any questions on this left-hand side here? Any of these that you missed, you're not sure why, and you would like me to explain further? Okay. Let's go over to the next side. All right. So I've got the absolute value of 47, which is 47, minus the absolute value of 18, which is 18. So I've just got 47 minus 18, so just a basic subtraction problem. And 47 minus 18 is 29. I've got the opposite of the absolute value of negative 31. The absolute value of negative 31 is positive 31, but the opposite of that would be negative 31, minus the absolute value of negative 22 is 22. Again, this is one where I'm subtracting, so I want to change, and I'm going to change my minus sign to a plus sign, but then that means that now I've got to change positive 22 to a negative 22. So now I'm adding a negative plus a negative gives me a negative, and 31 plus 22 is 53. Any questions on that one? Change the signs, and then I'll follow my rules for adding numbers with the same signs. All right, now we're using our absolute value symbol as a symbol of grouping. And so I'm going to perform the computation inside before I can find the absolute value of my number. So 3 plus 14 is going to be the absolute value of 17, plus 10 minus 8 is the absolute value of 2. So absolute value of 17 is 17, plus the absolute value of 2 is 2, and 17 plus 2 is 19. All righty, and then same thing, we're using our symbols. So I have a negative outside, so I'm going to go ahead and leave that there. And then 21 minus 9 is going to be 12, plus the absolute value of 14 minus 6 is going to be 8. So now I'm going to do the opposite of the absolute value of 12, which is negative 12. Plus the absolute value of 8 is 8. All right. So in this situation, I have opposite signs. I have a negative 12 plus a positive 8. I'm going to take the sign of the larger, which is the negative, and then 12 minus 8 is 4. Any questions on that one? Remember that a number line can also be very helpful when we're working with positives and negatives. If you want to use a number line, you're welcome to. All right, so we have 27 plus 5 inside the absolute value. So I have the opposite of the absolute value of 32 minus the absolute value of 12 minus 7 is 5. Okay, so I'm going to rewrite this. The opposite of the absolute value of 32 is going to be negative 32 minus the absolute value of 5 is 5. Again, I'm subtracting, so I want to change to where I add the opposite. So now I have two negatives, and a negative plus a negative will give me a negative answer, and then I'm going to add these two together, and 32 plus 5 is 37. Any questions on any of these? Absolute values can be challenging because they involve positives and negatives also. Not only are we having to think about distance from 0 on the number line, but then we're also having to think about, okay, how do I incorporate that along with adding and subtracting positives and negatives? So that can be a little bit of a challenge, so good job. Again, I don't know what you're having trouble with if you don't tell me. So I don't know that you're having trouble unless you ask for help, okay? Again, feel free that when we take our break in just a bit, if you need to ask questions then, or if you need to hang around at the end of the class and ask questions, text me, email me, whatever you need to do to get help, okay? All righty, so let's take a look on Thursday. We had started talking about exponents, okay? So let's review this for just a minute. Exponents tell how many times a number is multiplied by itself, okay? And we learned that the base is what we call the number, the big number that's being multiplied. So if we were to look at these numbers right here, this is my base. Whoop, go back. This is my base, and this is my exponent. The exponent is going to be the little bitty number that was kind of floating up in the air to the right-hand side of the number, okay? So those of you that do cheer and you know that you have, like if y'all do stunting and you've got the base has to be the one that's in the bottom, so that's a way to remember it. Or with building Legos, you've got to have a good solid base to build on. So your base is going to be that good solid big part, okay? All right, so the base is the number that you multiply by itself, and the exponent tells you how many times you need to multiply it by itself. All right, so we kind of went through this a little bit, and then looks like we did some prime factorization. We already did that on the next page, which was page 22. I'll tell you what I want you to do for just a minute is I want you to go ahead and fill in this multiplication chart. This is just a great way to practice with our numbers, okay? So let's take a look, and the way that we do this is we look at the first number times the first number and fill it in. So we would have 2 times 3 is 6. Then if I want to keep going down the list, I can go down the list, or I can go side to side, where I've got 2 times negative 4 is negative 8. 2 times positive 5 is 10. So go ahead and work on this chart for a minute. Practice with multiplying these positives and negatives. And if you have questions, let me know. Okay, let's get ready and take a look at these. So we've got through this, not only are we drilling ourselves on times tables, but we're working on positive times positive, negative times negative, and positive times negative. Okay, so we're practicing those skills with multiplying positives and negatives, but also just our times tables. So let's go down the twos column, check your work. So you should have 6, -8, 10, -12, 14, -16, and 18. Underneath your -3 column would be -9, +12, -15, +18, -21, +24, and -27. Underneath your 4 column would be +12, -16, +20, -24, +28, -32, and +36. Excuse me. Underneath the -5 column, -15, +20, -25, +30, -35, +40, and -50. Underneath the +6, +18, -24, +30, -36, +42, -48, and +54. -7 is going to be -21, +28, -35, +42, -49, +56, and -63. Underneath 8, we're going to have +24, -32, +40, -48, +56, -64, and +72. And then under -9, we'll have -27, +36, -45, +54, -63, +72, -81. And then last column underneath the 10s, we'll have +30, -40, +50, -60, +70, -80, +90. Okay. Thumbs up, thumbs down. That was a lot of brain power, wasn't it? Thinking about our multiplication tables, thinking about positives and negatives, all that good stuff. Any questions?
I noticed a pattern in it. So when you go this way, it's like multiplying it, and then the negatives go in like
Yeah.
and then when you go like this, it's like
the
first number, and then it skips the second multiple, and then it goes through the rest of them.
Yeah. So there's all kinds of patterns that you can see here. One of the ones is to look at if you also go horizontally, you can see that all these are negatives. So every row of slanted ones are negatives. I thought that was pretty fun to look at. Like that. Anyway, so yeah, so took a little bit of time, a little bit of work, shaking the rest or knocking the rest off of our times tables and all that good stuff. All right, so it is like 1:28, 1:30 is our break time. So we'll go ahead and break a little bit early today. Go ahead and take about 5 minutes or so, and we'll stretch and rest and get ready to wrap up our day. Okay. All right, take a break.
Are we going to be doing a new lesson today, or are we just going to be doing the test?
No, we're gonna be doing, so actually your test, I will email that to you this afternoon. And then what you will do is you will do your test at home on your own, and then you will just upload it. I will have a tab for you to upload it in the, on the website, and you'll do that on, you'll upload that on Thursday.
Are we going to be doing lesson 11 today or no?
We are. Yeah, as soon as everybody gets back. I wonder where my pages went. I thought I had emailed out those pages. Let's see what happened to them. But when I tried to upload them on here, there's nothing there. So let's see. Let's see what happened. All righty. So we just finished up looking at our exponents. We practiced with prime factorization, multiplication with our signed numbers, and now we're going to move on to lesson 11. This is on, let's see, this is on page 25. Dealing with square numbers. So this goes along with what we talked about with exponents. Okay, so square numbers are the same as a number raised to an exponent. Okay, and so what this is talking about here is it says when a number has a 2 as the exponent, the number is squared. Okay, so if it has 5 to the second power, that is read as 5 squared. Reading it as 5 to the second power is just fine also, but I want you to know that a lot of times I will use those, sometimes I never know what's going to come out of my mouth. Is whatever comes out first. Sometimes it'll be squared, sometimes it'll be to the second power. So, but I want you to know that they mean the same thing. When that exponent is 2, you can either call it to the second power or squared. Okay? Same thing when I have an exponent of 3, we read it as cubed. 5 to the third power can also be read as 5 cubed. Okay, what I want you to know is later on we'll talk about it, but I want you to think about, I mean, it won't be till a good bit later on in the year, but think about when we are finding the area of a rectangle and we multiply and we do length times width. And so like if we had, if this was 3 meters and this was 5 meters, and we were doing area, we would write this as 15 meters squared because we're multiplying 2 numbers together to get that measurement. And then when we do volume and we do length times width times height, we write our answer as cubed because volume is multiplying 3 numbers together. So that's just something I wanted you to kind of think about, that you'll be hearing this again later. But so for 3, let's see, I always have trouble remembering exactly how to draw my figures, which of course that's not going to be great. I think I did my slants wrong, but anyway, whatever it is, trying to draw a three-dimensional figure, not exactly good. But anyway, so the main thing though is to know that when it's to the third power, I call it cubed. To the second power, I call it squared. And then anything greater than 3, you're just going to read as to the fourth power, fifth power, sixth power, 10th power, 1,000,000th power, whatever it is. Okay. So it says the square of a number is always a multiple of that number. The result of raising a base to a power is always a multiple of the base. Okay. So let's take a look at each of these. Go ahead and erase this stuff here. Beautiful artwork. All righty. So looking at 2 squared. Remember, this is going to be the same as 2 times 2, and that will equal 4. 3 squared will be 3 times 3, and that will equal 9. 2 cubed means I'm multiplying 2 3 times. So 2 times 2 is 4, and 4 times 2 is 8. 3 cubed means I'm multiplying 3 times. 3 times 3 is 9, and 9 times 3 is 27. 4 squared will be 4 times 4, which is 16. And 4 cubed will be 4 times 4 times 4, which means I would have 4 times 4 is 16, and 16 times 4 is 64. Okay. All right, I will tell you that knowing these cubes, doing squares are usually pretty easy. Knowing, you know, something squared, we usually learn those pretty quickly. 2 to the third power, or 2 cubed and 3 cubed, are going to be ones that just memorizing those are going to help you also as you go along. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at finding the squares of each number. So if I'm finding the square of 3, that means I'm going to have 3 times 3, and that equals 9. So what I want you to do is go through and find the squares, the perfect squares of each of these numbers in activities 2. Go ahead and do that now. All right, so we'll go ahead and take a look at these. So we found that when I take the square of a number, that just means I multiply the number by itself, okay? So 5 squared is 25, 6 squared is 36, 8 squared is 64. 10 squared is 100. Did I skip 9? They just didn't give us 9. That's unusual. Well, I guess they skipped 7 also. 11 squared is going to be 121. 12 squared is 144. And 13 squared is 169. I'm going to go ahead and add 9 is 81. And 7 is 49. Okay.
They skipped 4.
Oh, and they skipped 4 too. 4 is going to be 16. Okay, I don't know why they did that. But basically, knowing your perfect squares, knowing these will come in handy, because later on we're going to be talking about square roots. And if you know your perfect squares, it's going to help square roots to make more sense. But anyway, perfect squares, again, it's just things that you memorize. Of course, it's much easier the smaller the numbers. Just memorizing like 11 is 121, 12 is 144, and 13 is 169. That just will come in handy to help you just to memorize those. All righty, so that's dealing with square numbers. Activities 3, find the prime factorization of each number. Now it says to use exponents where appropriate. So let's look at what this means. What we're going to do is once we have found the prime factorization, we are going to write the prime factors as products with exponents, okay? So let's think about the number 12. Think about our prime factorization of 12. What is our smallest prime factor of 12? What number did we find as the smallest prime factor?
2.
2, yeah. So 12 will be 2, and 2 will go into 12 6 times. So again, we'll try that prime factor again, and 2 will go into 6 3 times. And then 3 will go into 3 1 time. So once I have these prime factors listed out, I can write this as 2 squared times 3. Since I have 2 2's, I can write that as 2 squared. Okay, so I use my exponents to show my prime factorization. Let's look at 27. 27 is not even, so I know 2 will not go into 27, so I'm going to go with 3. 3 will go into 27 9 times. Now we'll look at 9, and that's going to be 3 times 3. We know this will be 3 times 1. I know that once I've gotten that 1 on the very bottom, I'm done. So I have 3 3's, so I'm going to write that as a base of 3, but it's going to be 3 to the 3rd power because I have 3 3's. Let's do a couple more. Let's look at 16. So I have 16. 2 will go into 16 8 times. 2 will go into 8 4 times. 2 will go into 4 2 times. And 2 will go into 2 1 time. So I have 4 2's. So my base is 2. My exponent is 4. Any questions about these so far? Now let's do 30, and then you can do the rest of them on your own for homework. Let's start with 30. 2 will go into 30 15 times. 2 won't go into 15, but 3 will. We'll go 5 times. 5 is prime, so it'll just be 5 and 1. So in this one, I don't have any exponents, so I just write it as 2 times 3 times 5. Okay, I'd write it in order from least to greatest. So I'll have you guys finish activities 3, prime factorization. And then we've got activities 4, and activities 5 on page 26. Absolute value and multiples. Okay, so what we'll do is, let's see what time it is. It is 1:51. What we'll do is we'll go ahead and I want you to work on these. That way I'm here if you have any questions. Once you finish up, if you want to let me know you're done, you are welcome to go. Like I said, I will email the test. So let's talk about what our homework is so you can make sure to write it down so you can know exactly what you've got. So we said today we did 10 and 11. So we have our test due Thursday. And then we have page 25, finish activities 3. Page 26, activities 4 and 5. And that is it. Okay, so when I send you to the test, you'll have that to work on to turn in for Thursday, along with finishing, and then you should be able to finish this during our time right now. Okay, so just be sure to let me know if you have any questions as you're working. And once you're finished up, let me know and you can go.
I'm done.
You're all done? Okay, any questions about anything?
No.
Okay, well, I will have the test sent by 5 o'clock this evening. Okay, so be looking for that. And then that'll be, if you're finished with everything else, that'll be all you'll need to turn in on Thursday. Okay, so once you're finished with this, then you will not need to upload it for Thursday. Okay, you do not have to upload activities 3, 4, and 5. The only thing you'll upload for Thursday is the test.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, very good. Have a great week.
I'm done as well.
You done as well? Awesome. Well, very good. Well, be sure to let me know if you have any questions, and I will, I guess, just see you on Thursday. Okay, bye, bud.
I'm done.
All done? Very good. Well, have a great afternoon. Let me know if you need help with anything, and I will see you Thursday.
Thank you.
All right, bye.
Okay, I have a question.
Sure.
Okay, on activity 4 on page 26, the bottom two, how do you do that? Like, I
Okay.
know how to do it, but like I don't know.
Okay, let me pull that up real quick. So activities, which one?
4 on
4.
page 26.
Okay, the last two?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so what we're gonna do here is we're gonna use these absolute value signs kind of like a symbol of grouping. You know how usually when you see parentheses, you know, hey, that's the first thing I need to do is what's in parentheses. Well, the absolute value signs can act like a symbol of grouping as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to simplify everything in each group first. Okay, so think about, what is 7 minus 10?
-3, or just 3, but
-3. You're in the absolute value signs, you're going to have -3 minus the absolute value of, what is 6 minus 2?
4.
Good. So now we have, I'm going to bring it down here so we can see it a little bit better, the absolute value of -3 minus the absolute value of 4. So the first thing we did is we did the subtraction in there, okay? Now, what is the absolute value of -3?
3.
3. We have our minus sign. What is the absolute value of 4?
-4.
Now, so think about the absolute value of 4. We're just talking about this right here. Remember, when we talk about absolute value, we're talking about what is the distance of 4 from 0 on the number line?
4.
4. Good. Okay, so now we have 3 minus 4. And what is 3 minus 4?
-1.
Perfect. So that's -1. Okay. Now let's go ahead and I'm going to look at the next one. Okay, we have the opposite of the absolute value of 10 minus 15. What is 10 minus 15?
-5.
Good. Minus the absolute value of 4 minus 9. What's 4 minus 9?
-5.
Good. All right. So now we've got to look at the opposite of the absolute value of -5. Okay. So what is the absolute value of -5?
5.
5, but the opposite of 5 will be -5.
-5.
Okay. So now we have -5 minus, what is the absolute value of -5?
-5.
Now remember, absolute, yeah,
Negative
just
5.
5, good. So now I have -5 minus 5. This is where I have to think about my signs, and to me, it's easier to go ahead and change this to adding the opposite, okay? So now I can see that I have got -5 plus -5. And it's easier for me to work that when I see that I have got a negative number plus a negative number. So let's think about what are our rules for adding negatives. If they both have a negative, what's my answer going to be? Remember back to our rules for signed numbers? If they're both negative, when I add them to
Positive.
positive is when I multiply. Okay, so when I'm adding, if I have a negative plus a negative, I'm going to end up with a bigger negative. Okay, this is one where I think about, I already owe mom $5 and I just borrowed 5 more. So now how much money do you owe her?
10.
$10. So it's -10. Okay, so if I have a negative plus a negative, I'm going to end up with a larger negative. So, but I have, I keep my sign and then just add the numbers together. 5 and 5 is 10. And there is your answer.
So we don't put this homework in.
No, you don't have to upload this since we did it in class. You don't have to put this in the system. All you'll need to upload for Thursday will be your test.
Okay.
Okay. Any other
Thank you.
questions?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Well, be sure to let me know. I hope you have a great day and we'll see you later.
Okay.
All right. Bye, hon.
Bye.